Willkommen bei combobreaker.ch. Mein Name ist Raphael. Heute schauen wir ein Spiel an, das zurzeit noch in einem Alpha-Stadium ist und in den Schlusszügen von einer recht erfolgreichen Kickstarter-Kampagne ist. Um mich zu unterstützen, habe ich heute einen Gast bei mir. Er ist der Gründer von Taitále Studios und der Lead-Designer vom Spiel Novus Æterno. Sein Name ist Nieuwoudt. Hi Nick, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem whatsoever. Okay, what are we looking at, Nick?
So the first thing you should be looking at, have you created your account yet, or are you in-game on the surface of a planet?
I am not yet in-game. I'm still looking at the character creation here.
Okay, so the first thing we want to do is select your race. At the moment, as we're still in alpha, the only playable race are the humans, but we will be adding in 4 more races. 3 very alien races, and 1 robotic race.
Okay.
But so for the moment, go ahead and pick humans, select your avatar, and go ahead and create your account.
I will do that.
Novus Æterno is a seamless, persistent strategy game, and it's kind of like the easiest way to imagine it, like while you're loading and preparing, is imagine a normal strategy game like StarCraft or Company of Heroes, but instead of a small map with 8 people that ends in like a 1-hour game, imagine it as a huge map that takes over a month to move a unit from one side of the map to the other, just to have an idea of how big it is. Like 1 month of just watching the unit go through space to the other end of the galaxy. And with thousands and thousands of other players playing on the same map. With no divisions, no instances, nothing. No loading screens, anything. Just a massive strategy map that is on always. So you go and you can log in whenever you want to and go expanding your empire more into space, interacting with other players. And all of that, we also have added in a lot more things to the genre, like a lot of economical elements like trading and alliances and espionage, spying on other players, stuff like this. It's still in alpha now, so not everything is fully playable, but I'll try to show you everything that's in there, and maybe we can get killing a few things.
That would be great. Well, espionage sounds great for me. Well, I'm in game now. Game just asked me if I want to run the tutorial. I have you here.
Go ahead and say no. I will be your tutorial.
That's cool. Okay. Well, I've got a huge building here.
Okay, so that building is your planetary headquarters. Now, as you just started a new account, this is all you have on your home planet. What you're going to want to do is on the right of your screen, the second button down should be sector management or sector deployment or something. Click on that. It'll open up an interface of all the buildings that you can build right now.
Okay.
The first one you're going to want to build is a warehouse. So double click on the warehouse building, and it'll show you a hexagonal floor plan of where to place the building. Now move it close to your main building, and you will see that it'll go from all red to like green and yellow. When it's green and yellow, you can place it, and then just click, and it will start construction.
Okay, well, I'm trying to double click it, but it doesn't work.
Go ahead and click it, and then go ahead and click it, and then click build in the bottom right of the interface if double clicking isn't working.
I've got move to market and scrap there, the bottom right.
No. You opened the wrong interface.
Do I?
Okay. Yeah. Oh wait.
Field sector. Now I found it. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay. There is the build interface and.
Okay, so while that's building, you need to build a couple more buildings. The main thing you're going to want to build, go back to the same interface, and you're going to want to build 2 factories. So go ahead and select factory, and then click it, and then you should be able to hold down shift after you start building the first one, and it'll show the floor plan again, and you can build the same building again.
Okay. A bit of StarCraft going on here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I come from a competitive StarCraft background, so Now, I tried to make sure the game isn't very micromanagement intensive for a lot of reasons that I'll get into it a little bit, but you will notice every once in a while some interface things that I liked from the StarCraft game, so I added them.
It is very well crafted StarCraft, so why not take a little? Okay, it's very explosion heavy. I like it.
Yeah, we like explosions. Everything is better with explosions.
Of course it is.
Okay, so now that you have that, and those are constructed, go ahead and click the space bar. and I'll show you a bit of like the galaxy.
Ooh, yep.
Now this is your tactical view mode. This is a top-down view of the galaxy that lets you kind of see the big picture. Now if you zoom out with your mouse wheel, you'll see your planet and your solar system and also the solar systems around you. Now you can click on WASD to move the camera around this map, or just move the mouse to the edge of the screen.
Okay.
And this, you can go seeing around like what's in your general vicinity. Now, if you notice, if you start going in any direction, you'll keep going endlessly and more solar systems will just keep spawning.
Yep.
Right? The galaxy is huge. Like you just have mind-bogglingly big. Okay, so now let's get back and start designing some units. That's always fun. So now the second button on the left, on the right of the screen down is Empire Management. Click on that button, and then click on the spaceport. No, shipyard. No, sorry. Empire. No, my bad. Empire Management will open up a list of all of the planets you have in your empire. Now, as all you have right now is one planet, go ahead and double click on that planet, and it'll show you all the buildings you have on this planet. Now go ahead and click on the shipyard, and then at the top of the shipyard you should see a button that says Design a Ship. Or Ship Designer, sorry.
The ship
click
designer.
on this.
Okay.
Yep. Now this is the ship designer interface. Now one thing is, as this is a persistent RTS game, and RTS you'll keep playing for months and years with the same empire, we had to add a lot of things into it so it didn't get repetitive and boring. So one of those things is that we don't give you preset units, like you don't have a Marine and a Marauder and a Siege Tank. We give you this interface that allows you to design any unit you could ever dream of, like any spaceship you could ever dream of. And this is the same interface you use to design anything, to design a cargo ship, a trading ship, a cruiser, an aircraft carrier, a battleship, whatever you want, this is where you do it. So now how it works. On this first page here, you will see a list of different hull types. Now, a hull is just what it sounds like. It's an empty block of metal that can fit so many components on it, like so many engine shields, stuff like that. And you'll see that statistic right next to the hull itself. Now, go ahead and select a hull you like by highlighting it. Then after that, at the top of the interface, you will see a list of tabs that go across on the right. And go ahead and click on, working your way from left to right, click on the next tab, and the first one will be weapons. So here's a list of all the weapons that you've unlocked currently. So go ahead and start clicking and dragging some weapons into the weapons slots on the left, on the right, sorry. Now, you'll notice that there is like frontal primary, frontal secondary, left primary, left secondary. There's two things important here. First of all units in the game, all hull types, have directional armor, which means that they take different amounts of damage if you're hitting them in the front or the sides or the rear. Like imagine a tank. Like a tank has better frontal armor, always.
Exactly.
Like in the real world. Now, the second thing is that all weapons in the game have fire arcs. Some of them, like secondary weapons, are typically turreted-based weapons. So they have a 180-degree fire arc, like they can shoot a very wide angle. Whereas primary weapons are like main cannons that are built into the ship. So you can angle them a little bit to point them, but not much. So they have a much more restricted fire arc, like 45 degrees or something like that. So once you go ahead and put some weapons onto your ship, just move along into engines. And one thing that's very important, don't forget to put engines on your ship. If you forget to put engines, it can't move.
Yeah. That's not quite good. Okay, we've got turbo headings, or what that is. Yeah. Speed 200, acceleration 90. Well, that looks about fine. There are 4 engine slots there. Means I can put in 4 engines.
If you want. Now, one thing, as you bring this up, if you look on the top left of your of this interface, in the graphic of the unit rotating, and that's that's the hull. That's what the hull looks like. Now, you'll notice there's something that says CP, and then it'll have a number in there. That is the CP cost. CP stands for command points. Okay. Now, that's kind of our version of a population cap. Notice at the top right of your screen, you'll say 0 out of 5 million CP. Now, as this is a development server, we gave you so much CP, it's not even funny, just to like test massive battles and, stress test the server. But everything in the game costs CP. So engines cost it, weapons cost it, everything. And this is how we brought RTS balancing into the MMO type game.
Okay.
So this yeah. So the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and finish the design. One thing that's important, under utilities, put an FTL assembly. That's a faster than light assembly, so that your ship can like warp around the galaxy. Because otherwise it takes a long time to go anywhere. But they cost a lot of CP. So it's kind of like a balance. Like you need that if you want to try and be offensive with the unit. Otherwise you have to wait like an hour for him to get from wherever he wants to go. But it means that you won't have as many ships as an enemy.
Okay, yeah. So defense is always a bit stronger than offense because you have to use faster than light traveling to go there in the first place.
You don't have to, but it'll take a lot longer if you do. If you don't, I mean, if you're patient enough, you can do it. But also, it's the same problem. If you don't use it and you try and attack someone with a fleet that doesn't have faster than light travel, by the time you get there and start attacking his planet, he can go behind you and start attacking yours, and you can't do anything. Because it'll take you so long to get back to your own empire that he'll already have done quite a bit of damage. So it's just something you have to balance out. And that actually brings up one of the key development philosophies of the game, is that I never wanted us to ever have hard limitations. You know what I mean? So like a player can do whatever he wants, but there's consequences and benefits to everything that he must always consider. So, for example, putting FTL assemblies on all your ships. It's much better. You can move a lot faster. You can go around the universe a lot faster, but you don't have as many ships. And that's the same, like, even with, like, there is no classes in the game. Like, you don't pick to be an economist or a militaristic player. But there are a lot of economy and military elements, and it's just a matter of what do you want to focus on. Because you can't always do everything. You can only do so much. Okay. So, the next thing that you'll probably want to do is once you've finished the design, you'll want to click Save Design button on the bottom.
Yep.
And then go ahead and give your design a name.
Because I'm a Star Trek nerd, that's a Galaxy class, so enter name. Okay. Saved.
So, now, next thing you want to do is on the very top button on the far right of the screen looks like a backwards button. So go ahead and click that, and it'll take you back to the previous interface. Now, here in your shipyard is where you build your ships. So you should have a drop-down menu on the top right of the interface.
Just hold on a minute. It looks like I'm still in the Galaxy screen here. Can I tell you once more how I get to my planet?
The way you get back to your planet is you click on the Empire Management, the second button down on the left, on the right, sorry. And then you click on your planet, and as soon as you click on your planet, it centers your screen around your planet. And then, now, to get off of the tactical view mode, press spacebar, and it'll zoom you into, like, the combat view mode, where you can actually control your units and stuff like that. It zooms you in wherever your mouse is. So if you just put your mouse over your planet, then when you press spacebar, the camera will enter space on your planet.
Okay. Alright, my shipyard. Yes, here it is. So... Cool, alright.
Okay, so
manage shipyard, and then, yeah, there it is. Okay, so, what am I supposed to do?
The first thing you're going to want to do is click on the drop-down menu on the top right of the screen. And then from there, you're going to want to select the ship design that you just made. And once you've done that, at the bottom of the interface, there's a build button.
Okay.
And just go ahead and click the build button as many times as you want, and it'll just fill up your production queue with that unit.
Okay. Yes, there it is, building. Okay, how long does it take to build something here?
Not very long at all. Remember, it is a persistent strategy game, and it is an MMO, but we wanted to keep the unit production very fast-paced. So you could build a fleet quickly, go have a couple of battles, and go off in like just an hour. So like you sit down, you build a fleet, have a lot of battles, get like action in. If stuff takes a bit too long, then you don't want to ever attack anyone or go to war because like you'll lose too much ships. It's not worth it. So, and also it makes combat in wars a lot more interesting, because then a war isn't just one battle, because you can build your new units again fairly quickly. A war is many many battles.
Sounds very time consuming. If I am honest, what do you do? I mean, you build ships, you put it into battle, and then you have to log off. What happens then?
Well, there's a couple things. When you log off, the artificial intelligence called Overwatch takes over your entire empire. So it will manage all of your fleets to protect your planets and your empire and everything. Also, you can plan into Overwatch the ability to maintain trade routes within your empire and to continue producing and researching things. Now, on top of that, if someone does attack you, Overwatch, whenever a unit dies, after you've been offline for about 30 minutes, so people can't abuse it, the unit will respawn for a very, very small cost to you in waves. So even if they come to your empire, they try and capture a planet, they destroy your fleet, it'll respawn in 20 minutes or in 15 minutes. And it takes longer than that to capture a really important planet. So like one of your main planets with a very high population, it takes a while to capture that, and they have to drop a lot of military forces onto the planet to capture it. So in that time, your fleet will be respawning and attacking them again repeatedly. So it also is good because it keeps it kind of fun and interesting for the people who are active and are playing the game, even to attack an offline player. But the offline player does have quite a few advantages, because they don't have to pay nearly as much to reproduce the units that have died and stuff like this. Also, it means when you come back online, the enemy, when you capture a planet, you haven't actually captured it. All it means is that you have dropped enough military troops on the planet to overpower the defending military, and now you're occupying it. But you can't actually do anything with it because the population is still kind of fighting against you. So you have to hold it for a couple of days before it becomes yours. And if the defending player comes online within this time, he can recapture it quite easily. So because of that, if you come back online, you'll have your entire fleet, and you'll also, if you have lost any planets, you can easily take your fleet and recapture them. And now, I'm sure, you have to fight it now against the other players' AI that will be trying to protect them. But as your planets will be deep inside of your empire, it's a lot easier for you to reinforce the siege on the enemy planet. And as the planet's further away from the other player's empire, it'll take longer for his AI fleets to get there and reinforce it.
Okay. Can you upgrade this AI, or is it for every player the same?
Actually, you don't upgrade it, but you fully customize it.
Okay.
That's one of the unique things we added in it. Okay. Now, myself, coming from a StarCraft background, micromanagement is something that I really enjoy.
Of course, yeah.
But not for all players. And this game is very big and very complicated. So one of the things we added into it, and it's not in this build right now, as this is still an early alpha build, but it's almost complete in development, is a fully customizable unit AI. So a good example of this is, let's say you have a repair ship that goes around and repairs the ships on your fleet. What you do is you customize its orders and their priority. So in this scenario, in this example, maybe the highest priority order will be, if you're ever shot at, retreat away from the enemy and hide behind allied ships. So it's a repair ship. It'll have no armor and no weapons. Now, the second highest priority will be, if an allied ship within X distance is below 25% health, go repair them. And then the third priority is, if any allied ship within X distance is below 100% health, go repair them. Now, how this works in the game is that you now have this repair ship that, if you're in combat and you have lots of ships taking damage, will repair the ships that are going to die the soonest. It'll repair them first. If it gets shot at while it's trying to repair the ships, it'll automatically retreat behind your forces to stay alive. Once it's not being shot at anymore, it'll go repairing your most damaged ships again. After the combat is over, it will then repair all of your ships to make sure all of them get back up to 100% health. So effectively, what we're allowing the player to do is almost like plan ahead his micromanagement. And this custom AI also is the same AI that will control your fleets and ships when you're offline. So you will design everything of how you want each unit to work and interact with each other while you're offline and while you're online. The other good thing about this is I'm sure like everybody knows when you're playing a strategy game, something will happen. Like you'll tell a unit to do something, and the unit's AI won't do exactly what you wanted it to. Like you tell a tank to reverse backwards, but the AI decides to turn around completely, show your rear armor at the enemy, and then drive away. And you die because of that. It's really annoying. But with this, it allows the player the ability to customize his own AI so it works the way he wants it to.
Okay, so your playstyle is the same whether you're online or offline.
Yep. And now, also, of course, your orders, the player's orders, always will supersede the AI's orders.
Okay.
So I mean, you can always select a unit and give it a new order. But what this means is that for players who aren't as good at micromanagement, for example, it's a lot easier for them just to design this AI and have that deal with kind of like the micromanagement elements of the battle, and they deal with the macro managements where they control the fleets and they tell them like where to go and like will this squad go and flank and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a bit of everything for everyone. That's good. So my shipyard is finished with building all those ships. Where are they now?
Now, if you go to your spaceport, you'll find the ships in there.
Okay, the spaceport. Let me just find it. Spaceport. Okay, yeah, there they are, ready.
Now, in the spaceport is where you can launch your ships into space. Also, the spaceport is where you will repair your ships and resupply them and when you land them on your planet. So go ahead and click and drag and select all the ships in your spaceport, and then click the launch button in the bottom right.
Okay, let's do that. And they're gone.
Yep. Now, go ahead and click escape. And you should see your ships above your planet.
Wait, that's tactical view again? Is that right?
Okay, now put your mouse over, if you're going to tactical view, put your mouse over your planet and click spacebar again, and you'll enter normal 3D space, and you'll see the ships above your planet.
Ah, yes, there they are.
Okay. Now, ship controls works fairly similarly to an RTS as you would expect. Left click and drag to select units. Right click to give them an order to move somewhere. And you can also right click and drag to tell them to move somewhere and face a specific direction.
Ah, okay, that's good. Yep, there it is. Alright, we're in space. Space is mostly three-dimensional. What do we do? Have we...
Well, the space here is more like too much, like 2.5D. As you can see, the ships are not all on one flat plane, but you give most of your controls along a flat plane, otherwise it will just get a bit too complicated once you have a battle with 1,000 players and over 1 million ships. So, first thing let's do, let's actually find each other. Go onto the tactical map and zoom out a little bit. Next to your mouse, it'll say solar system and then a number. So what solar system are you in?
I'm in solar system 5 -1 -1.
Okay. Now, if you zoom in a little bit more and hover your mouse over your planet, what planet are you?
That's Jovian 7.
Okay. So I've found you. Now, if you zoom out a little bit more and go one solar system to your right, solar system 6, and zoom in, you'll find Ice 21. It's directly west of the sun, and it's near the edge. If you hover your mouse over, you'll see that. See, now that is my home planet, because I just started a new empire as well, so we're not too far away from each other.
Ice 21. Yes, there it is. Okay.
So, if you want to go ahead and select your ships, just click and drag and select them. You can select ships from tactical view. And then once you have them selected, go ahead and FTL, which if you look at the bottom right of your screen, you have 6 buttons, and the right middle button is called FTL.
Okay.
If you click on this, you'll notice the cursor changes. And now click somewhere around my planet, but don't click on top of my planet, because I have a fortress shield that protects me, that always protects my home planet, and if you FTL into the fortress shield, you blow up.
Ah, so that's the blue glow around your planet, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Alright. So I right-clicked with FTL on. And there I am. So, travel speed.
Okay, now I notice as you enter travel speed means none of your shield works, none of your shields work, and none of your weapons work. And also, if you get shot at or if you shoot at an enemy, you drop out of travel speed. But it's good for just like traveling around the galaxy and stuff like that.
Okay.
Alright, so I have a couple of battleships over here, which I'm moving closer. Now, one thing that's actually worth noting: everything in the game actually must always exist in a location. So, for example, remember when we designed the ships, we had to put the weapons and engines onto them. Now, those weapons and engines are actually produced independently on your factories. And then once they're done being produced, they move to your warehouse. And once you have all the components required to build a ship in your warehouse, then it starts producing the ship. But what this means is that you can build weapons and engines ahead of time and stockpile them. And also, you can trade with other players these weapons and engines, and that allows you to save a lot of production time. Because if you already have them built, your ships will build like 75% faster, because you don't have to wait for those components to be finished.
Okay. Alright, your fleet looks very impressive.
This is not, as you can see, like right now the CP is, okay, it's 5 million because it's the development server, but the final game CP will be in between 250,000 and 500,000. And like, how much CP do you currently have?
4,100.
Exactly. So as you can see, the fleets get very big.
Okay.
I mean, I think so far one of the biggest battles that we have had was like, I don't even know how many CP, but it was like 12,000 spaceships.
Wow.
Like all right next to each other, all battling together, and the server ran it just fine.
Okay,
that wasn't even too many players. We'll be able to have a lot more players, like a whole lot of players, like hundreds of players all playing together, each one of them with hundreds of ships.
That sounds very impressive, but will my PC run that?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
The ships and all the effects we've designed to be as minimal intensive as possible on the graphics. So they still look nice, but you can run it very smoothly and very easily.
Okay.
And this is still alpha. We'll be doing a lot more optimization, but even now, like battles like that with 9,000 ships, you can still run quite well.
Okay, well, I only have 5, so we cannot test that, but I'm sure I'll do that later on the line. So, okay, I'm coming a bit nearer to your ships.
One thing you'll notice is that above my ships is my empire icon, and it's gray. Because we're neutral to each other. You've never attacked me, I've never attacked you. We just met. Yes, this is a strategy game, so normally you attack everyone in a strategy game. But this is a bit different, because here you have alliances, you can be friendly with other players, you can work together with people, and none of it is forced. It's not like you started as humans, so you're automatically allied with all the humans. It's actually very open-ended. you ally with who you want and you make enemies with who you want.
Mm-hmm.
So if you notice, if you left click on my ships, a menu will come up of set hostile, set neutral, set friendly, or invite to alliance. And this is how you can interact with me. And if you set me hostile, your ships will start shooting at me right away. And you can set me as friendly, which means that it marks me as green and I won't shoot it and you won't shoot at me. But an important thing to note is that you can be friendly to me and I can still attack you if I want to.
Okay.
So
And,
it's more like you gave the order to all of your ships not to attack this player.
Okay, well, I just right-clicked you with my ship selected.
Ah, yeah, that attack.
That's not
right
good.
Without the ship selected.
Okay, so now I'm friendly to you, but you just blew up one of my ships.
Yeah, wait, no, one sec.
Yeah, explosion looks impressive.
Lots of explosions. Explosions are nice. Okay, so I'm friendly to you now, so it's okay.
Okay.
But remember, as I said, like you set me as friendly, but I kept shooting at you because because I hadn't told. All that setting friendly is doing is you're ordering your ships not to shoot at the enemy. You're not telling the enemy anything.
Do I have some indication of whether you're friendly or not, or do I have to come near and see whether your ships shoot or not?
You pretty much no. Remember, if you've never met the player before, you're both neutral to each other. If he is unfriendly to you or has set you as hostile, he will shoot automatically. But the moment that he shoots at you, you automatically set him as hostile as well.
Okay. Alright, so...
Now, there's a couple other important things to mention here. Is that the main progression in the game is through the population on your planets. But also, every time... And you need population to be able to build more buildings on your planets. But every time you build a warship, it costs you a little bit of population. Not very much, very little. But still, if you spend all your time attacking players and stuff like that, it'll start using up your planet's population slowly. And what will happen is you'll be advancing slower than a player who is playing much more tactically and more diplomatic. Another important thing is that because... what was I saying? I lost my train of thought for a second. Another important thing to mention about population is that to capture an enemy planet, you must train military forces, load them onto your ships with drop pods, and attack the enemy planet. Which once again means you're using up some population to try and be aggressive. And because of the command point system, the CP system, because of that system, when you only can build so much military force, and you get a little bit more CP as your empire grows, but not very much. So what can happen very quickly is that your borders become too big for your army to be able to defend effectively. And you can continue expanding. There's no limit to how many planets you can own. But in this scenario, you really have to think tactically about how to deal with the situation. For example, I mean, if your empire starts getting bigger and bigger and you start making too many enemies, it's just going to become exponentially harder to protect. So it's all like a balancing. Like if you want to have a bigger and bigger empire, you need to really keep in mind like the political side, like who to make friends with, how to make friends with them. And you're going to find a lot of people who will start getting upset with you for taking planets close to their empire, and you'll have to figure out like how can you make them happy, what kind of deals can you strike so that they will continue to support you. And also, what this adds in is that because your empire is always there, even when you're offline, you have to really think hard about how you want to treat other players. Because if you're just a troll to them and making enemies all the time and just being very rude and pissing them off, you can't just run away. Your empire is always there. And sure, it's still very hard to attack a player when he's offline, but I mean, the best example is that, like in the Eve scenario, you always hear stories like about 1 or 2 times a year at minimum about someone who stole like 100,000 euros worth of credits in Eve from a guild or alliance. In this game, if you do that, you can't just log off.
Yeah,
you can't
that's
just
true.
like
You're
disappear.
always
You
there.
actually you still have an empire that exists somewhere. So it makes it a lot harder just to run away. And this is kind of, I like the effect that this has had on our alpha testers, especially, is that you see people being a lot more intellectual and thinking more about how to deal with other players and how to interact. Because if you just run around being an idiot all the time, you're just going to make more enemies than you can defend against.
Well, that sounds good, but you said you have to play smart, you have to be a bit... you cannot just run around guns blazing and piss off everybody. So there is an optimal way to play, or can you play how you want?
No, as I said, like everything, you play how you want, but the thing is, everything is in moderation. And you must always think about the other end. For example, like every playstyle has the elements that it requires and needs. And so, for example, I mean, you can play without ever even building a warship or declaring war on a single player, being completely economic, like building engines and shields and selling them to other players and stuff like this. And you can be very, very successful like that. But if you're doing that, you must still consider the military side. Like, if someone does try and attack you or threaten your trade routes, how will you deal with it? What do you need to do? So, for example, what I would recommend in that scenario is you may want to meet some aggressive players and say, look, you protect me and I will help fund you. Because a player like that will have lots of extra money, but he won't have military power.
Exactly.
Whereas a military player is spending all the money they have building warships, they will have a very weak economy. And so it's great for them to find someone who can help fund their economy. And the same thing, the diplomatic players are going to be working on building up alliances and building up coalitions and like uniting players, and then the espionage players are working against them. That's the balance, because an espionage player has a lot of abilities of things that he can try and do to destroy diplomatic relationships between people. So, for example, you have stuff like they can cloak as another player's ship.
Okay.
So now if you think about it, like if you have all of a sudden a fleet from one player come and attack you, you think that player just declared war on you. And so you retaliate and go and attack that player. But he didn't actually attack you. It was someone else who was trying to instigate a war.
Can players communicate with each other in chat or something along the lines of that?
Yep.
Okay.
Look to the left of your screen.
Okay, even if they're from different races?
Yep. We assume that everybody speaks a global language.
Okay, so that's good. Universal language there. All right, sounds good. Well, in the background, I'm building a bit more ships. Just built another ship there. It's a very good system.
Yeah, and now one thing that you will also notice is that, I don't know if you remember, but when you started attacking me and I destroyed one of your ships, the big explosion wasn't only graphics, it also knocked back some of the ships around it, and it actually did damage to them as well. And you could even set off chain reactions where you destroy one ship and the explosion is so strong that it'll destroy the ship next to it.
Are there modifiers to do that? Are ships with a bigger warp core or FTL drive more prone to explode or something along the lines?
Yes, all components can affect the volatility rating of a ship. And also like how much supplies the ship has left, all sorts of things like that will affect the strength at which it explodes. And now another important thing is that all ships will have crew. Now these crew is similar, like, you know, in a lot of strategy games, a unit, if it gets a lot of kills, it'll gain experience and it'll become a bit stronger. We're doing something very similar to that, but a bit more advanced, where you actually have officers that control your ship. So you have like your helmsman and your weapons sergeant and your engineer and stuff like that. And as the ship goes gaining experience, these officers go gaining experience. And as they gain experience, you can unlock abilities and skills and stuff for them. And in addition to that, when you do unlock these, you can also promote the officers between ships. So what will eventually happen is you will have your like your very biggest dreadnoughts and stuff with the top ranking officers. But the kind of the cool thing is that those officers aren't just some character in your fleet. A really high ranking officer will have been with you for a long time. You know, like you will remember when you first recruited him on a small little Corvette. You'll remember how he got all these XP, and he'll become like a hero of your empire.
Okay.
And also these officers can die. Now, if a ship dies, all the officers don't automatically die. The officers try and escape through escape pods and stuff like that, and you can put better kinds of escape systems onto a ship to increase the survival chance of the units, of the officers on the ships. But still, it kind of gives a bit more of a personal connection. Now, are you ready for the big plot twist?
Of course
all of this is happening. Everything, all the interfaces, all this gameplay is actually happening inside of your bridge of your capital ship. And you'll actually have a full 3D avatar that's walking around the command center of your capital ship, interacting with all the different interfaces and holograms to do everything you see right now.
Okay.
I'll send you some in-game renderings of that and the screenshots of the bridge of the capital ship. But you will also be able to control your capital ship in space. And your capital ship, like I see you have a couple of dreadnoughts. So you can have an idea. A capital ship is about 3 times the size of a dreadnought or bigger. And they're incredibly powerful. But just like this, the player designs them and what kind of abilities and skills they have. They design all. And so that's kind of some of the core elements of the game. I mean, of course, as you can see, this game, you can go on and on forever about all the different things we're adding into it or want to add into it. But that's kind of the basics of it.
Coming to that, you just, your Kickstarter campaign was very, very good on the second run. The first run was cancelled, if I remember correctly, your first Kickstarter campaign. What will you do with the last money you get, those 165? It's something along the lines of that.
I think we're almost
what happens with that?
70. Well, that will go to help and finish the game, and also now to some of the stretch goals that were unlocked. And as I said, the initial Kickstarter campaign we launched, we learned a hell of a lot from that on how Kickstarter works and how to properly present your game to the public. And it didn't do that well, but we were actually really lucky in the fact that an angel investor found the game on Kickstarter and really liked it, and they decided that they would back the game for a percentage of the money that we needed. And due to the fact that Kickstarter doesn't allow you to modify the amount that you're asking for, the only thing we could do is relaunch the campaign with the new final amount that we needed to finish the game. And that final amount was funded within 4 days. So it was very successful, and as you see, I mean, we learned a lot from the initial Kickstarter. And you got a bit too close to the fortress shield.
Yep.
We learned a lot from the initial Kickstarter, and it was a great learning experience.
Okay, and all of your stretch goals, I've seen those new races and colonizing moons is something you've unlocked already. What happens with the stretch goals that we don't reach with the Kickstarter campaign, or that you don't reach?
We will still be adding them into the game. What the stretch goals just mean, though, is that we have money to start development on them now. Whereas if we don't reach them, we'll only have money to start development after the game has been released and we start cash flowing. We can reinvest that profit back into the game and develop in more features. So everything on that list will still get in the game one day. It just means if we reach in a stretch goal, it'll be much sooner.
Okay, so then a bit later. Coming to the next topic there, your monetization model. What do you have in mind
Right now, what we're planning is a model where there's a one-time purchase, and kind of like a Guild Wars 2 model. You know, there's a one-time purchase, and there's a bit of a cash out back end for skins and other items like that. and will also be supported in a premium account. But the premium account is very different. It's not for all users. What it's really designed for is to help users that don't have as much time to play the game. It has some elements that can help make your empire still run while you're offline a lot. So, for example, you have a few more trade routes within your empire, automatic trade routes. You have a bit longer offline construction queues, stuff like that. But if you play the game regularly, it really doesn't affect you too much. But if you really don't have that, and you can only play like, you know, once every couple days, stuff like that, or once a week or something, the premium account would help keep your empire running a bit in those scenarios. But I mean, as I'm coming from the point of being a gamer who really wants to have a competitive game and a balanced game, it's important for me that it's not pay to win in any way. And also at the same time, it is important we need some way to keep continued revenues coming in, because servers for this kind of game are very much like not cheap.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
And so we do still need to keep it in line with those elements.
Okay, well, my ships are lining up here in a beautiful line. I like the formation menu there. That's fantastic.
Thank you. We're hoping to be adding more to that, but that's what we have in so far.
That would be great, just to customize it a little, so you can make custom formations there. That would be.
That is something we are actually planning. That's something we've been like a lot of people have asked us for.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah, well, I could be an asshole and just circle you and then attack you from behind, but I don't think my ships will hold up against your fleet there, so...
Oh, you can give it a try. You can give it a try.
Yeah, I can. Oh well. Und vermutlich genau in dem Moment hat der Nick meinen Game-Client vom Server geschmissen. Das Game ist mir leider abgestürzt und die epische Schlacht muss auf ein anderes Mal verschoben werden. Ein grosses Danke einmal an Nick, der sich für das Gespräch zur Verfügung gestellt hat. Wenn ihr mehr zum Game möchtet wissen, besucht meinen Artikel auf combobreaker.ch oder geht direkt zu der Kickstarter-Kampagne auf der Seite. Beide Links sind in der Beschreibung von dem Video zu finden. Recht herzlichen Dank fürs Zuhören und bis zum nächsten Mal.